Hey guys, welcome back to The Mind of Brandon, and welcome back to another Sexy Saturday. As indicated by the title of this video, I suck at pickup because of my activism. So the inspiration for today's video is a comment that I received on a previous video of mine titled, Corey Wayne Disciple Coach Eli Wants to Help Me. Now, in that video, I was responding to some stuff that Coach Eli had told me in an attempt to diagnose why it was I wasn't having any luck with the ladies. And after watching some of my videos, he decided that I came off as arrogant. And so in my cocky arrogance, I must just be repelling women or something, right? And so I explained to him that I didn't think that was an accurate diagnosis because the way that I act in my YouTube videos is not going to be the same way that I act when I'm out doing pickup, right? I don't bring my activism with me to the pickup field. So I explained to him that it didn't really make sense that I'd be coming off as arrogant when, I'm approaching women, hey, how's it going? Asking them their name, asking them stuff about them, trying to get a phone number or whatever. Didn't really make sense that would come off as arrogant. But let's go ahead and have a look at what our commenter says.
Brandon, I agree with what the dating coach said about your attitude. I used to be very much like you, so I understand what's going on with you. Over the years, you've developed a defense mechanism due to all the rejection you received throughout your life. You come off as being very arrogant, negative, and combative. Very similar to how MGTOW behave. You have a fuck the world attitude, and that's what's turning not only women, but everyone off about you.
Well, you might think it's combative that I'm disagreeing with you, but I don't think I have a fuck the world attitude. I mean, I'm the guy who makes videos talking about what we can do to save this world. I've done several different videos now where I've talked about how the current system relies too heavily on ozone-depleting fossil fuels that we're burning through faster than we can mine. And so I've advocated that we switch to clean, alternative, renewable resources that can be mass-produced in high abundance. I've even talked about the environmental impacts of animal agriculture and proposed alternatives to that because, of course, animal agriculture has contributed to deforestation and global warming. But maybe that's not what you meant. When you say I have a fuck the world attitude, maybe you're not literally referring to the world as in planet Earth, right? I don't know. It's kind of subject to interpretation. I don't really know what you mean. It occurs to me, though, that maybe you're looking around at the various videos where I'm, arguing with people, and you're thinking, wow, he must not like people very much. So maybe when you say I have a fuck the world attitude, what you really mean is I have a fuck the people attitude. People suck, I just don't like them, or something like that. Now, if that's what you meant, I gotta say, I don't agree with that either. I don't think I have a fuck the people attitude. I mean, there are occasions where I'll encounter someone that I think it's better to avoid because they're obnoxious or frightening, perhaps even dangerous. But for the most part, I tend not to be all that judgmental, right? I really try to avoid making harsh judgments of others. I mean, I will occasionally have these emotional reactions where, if someone says something I don't agree with or they do something I really don't like, I might have this reaction where I'm just like, oh, freaking idiot, what a retard, or, something like that, right? Just kind of as a reaction, but I'm able to, kind of take a breath and approach the situation more mindfully and realize, it's really not their fault. If they believe something that's wrong, well, that's just how they were indoctrinated, okay? Wherever they are in life, however they wound up, it was their life circumstances and experiences that got them to where they are. And so they really can't be held completely accountable for how they turned out. And I'm not perfect either, so I'm certainly in no position to judge. In fact, I'd even have to say that I care about each and every person on this planet. Not in the sense that I think everyone's cool and I want to hang out with them, but in the sense that I care about their well-being. I don't want terrible things to happen to them. And that goes for the, obnoxious and frightening people as well. Maybe I want them to stay the hell away from me, but that doesn't mean I want them to suffer or die. if there was a news story that came on talking about how some guy that I never met before died in a tragic car wreck, I would feel sad and angry. I'd feel sorry for the guy who died, and I'd be angry at the system because this kind of thing can be prevented. This actually brings me to the next point. Maybe what you really mean when you say I have a fuck the world attitude, maybe what you really mean by that is that I have a fuck the system attitude. And if that's what you mean, well, that's actually correct. I do have a fuck the system attitude. That is, I want to replace the current system with a better system. Now, in the past, when I've spoken with my sister about this, she said to me, well, what do you mean by the system? Which system? What are you talking about, right? So I had to clarify for her that when I refer to the system, singular, what I'm actually talking about is an amalgam of different systems, plural, that are used to operate modern society. So like the economic system, the political system, the legal system, our public education system, or what I like to call the subjugation system, since that's what it really is. And there's probably some other systems I'm neglecting to mention, but those are some good examples of systems that we use to operate modern society. Interestingly, though, while these are systems that we use to operate modern society, these systems that we use to operate modern society have actually been handed down to modern society from older societies when people were generally not as well informed as they can be today. They didn't have access to up-to-date science and technology. They relied on archaic science and technology and archaic beliefs and values. Yet we perpetuate their systems to this day. Don't get me wrong, each of these systems had a time and place in the gradual progression of things. There was a time when it made sense to implement these systems. It's just that now it's a different time. It's time to upgrade and update, to move forward, make progress, change the way we do things. Now, one of the things we can do is build new cities all over the world. Pre-planned cities. Cities that are pre-designed. As opposed to these archaic monstrosities that we're living in right now, they're just kind of sloppily patchwork together real gradually over a long period of time with no real pre-planning or pre-design, and thus they wind up relying on archaic technology and archaic methodology that's really quite a bit below what we're actually presently capable of. We're capable of much smarter cities. Cities with smarter homes, smarter transportation, smarter cars that never crash into each other or run over pedestrians. We're capable of self-sustaining cities that rely on clean, renewable resources that can be mass-produced in high abundance. We can have cities that fully utilize vertical farms and 3D printing technologies. I've gotten the impression there's still a lot of people who don't even know what 3D printing is, even though it's a technology that's existed since the 80s. People are just not well enough informed to the present state of technology. And unfortunately, that includes our politicians. For those of you who want to have this explained, want to know about 3D printing, well, I'm assuming you know about the desktop printer that prints up, prints up text documents, photos. Well, a 3D printer prints up three-dimensional objects. So it's actually kind of like that replicator technology that we see on Star Trek.
Give me a martini straight up with 2 olives for the vitamins.
But 3D printers, of course, need feedstock, which can come from a variety of different resources, some of which actually grow on trees and thus can be mass-produced in high abundance. And we can have automated cities. Cities where machines do all the jobs that nobody wants to do. all the jobs that people would only be willing to do if you paid them. You know, jobs like making pizzas, flipping burgers, working checkout line. These are not the kinds of jobs that people are passionate about doing on a full-time basis. They're the kind of jobs that people only take when they got to do something in order to make enough money to get by in a system where the things we need cost us money. But through the process of automation, we can provide everyone in each of these cities all over the world with access to clean air, food, clothing, shelter, medicine, a relevant education, transportation, entertainment, plumbing, and electricity, all without a price tag because you don't have to pay machines. So basically, we can render the monetary system obsolete, make it so there's no point in even having money. No reason to buy, no reason to sell. What's the point? And that can solve some of the world's problems, okay? If there's no point in having money, it's just rendered obsolete. Well, that solves problems like poverty and starvation. By the way, most violent crime, if I understand correctly, is actually poverty related. So we solve poverty, we get rid of most violent crime, we can take care of the rest of it with proper education, as opposed to subjugation, right? Got to keep that in mind, that the current education system, well, really that's not so much about teaching students relevant skills that'll come in handy and make their lives better. It has more to do with teaching them to follow orders and do what they're told so that they'll be good little subservients to the masters of the corporatocracy. Suffice it to say, we can solve all sorts of the world's problems. Problems like war, crime, poverty, starvation, slavery, overpopulation, pollution, racism, sexism, nationalism, classism, ageism. These problems can be wiped from the face of the earth forever. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the attitude that we can solve the world's problems, that's actually a pretty positive attitude. What's negative is when people tell me, nah, we'll never be able to solve any of the world's problems, right? It's in people's nature just to be shitty people, right? It's in our nature to have war and want to kill and steal and rape. Now that's a negative attitude. Okay. They're the ones being negative, not me. Okay. I'm not saying I'm never negative ever, right? It happens here or there. But I've actually, people have like complimented me on how positive I am. Why are you always so positive? You're so positive all the time, right? People have asked me questions like, why are you always smiling? Or made comments, you're always smiling, right? I've had nicknames like Smiles and Smiley, right? People comment on how zen I am, right? I'm not saying that's how I am perpetually. I'm different in different contexts. Here on YouTube, I do activism. Now, like I said, do not take it to the pickup field. Which, of course, is the point that I made with Coach Eli, who you're agreeing with even though you didn't even address the point that I made.
Here are some good qualities that I've noticed about you that I think you should hear. You are very intelligent. You have a lot of energy. You have a good sense of humor. You're very ambitious. Look at all the weight you've lost. I don't know you that well, but I've been able to pick up on those 4 qualities just by watching your videos. And check this out. If you were a more positive, level-headed person, you would have women crawling all over you. It's your attitude that needs to be fixed.
Dude, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Look, that's great that you're trying to help, but to be honest with you, it's really not helping. I have to change my attitude. How? What am I supposed to do? All right, I was proposing actual innovative solutions to some of the world's problems. You are falling back on old techniques, using old strategies that other coaches have used that have already proven not to work on me. Does it make any sense to keep perpetuating these archaic methods that don't frickin' work?
You need to forgive those that have hurt you and accept responsibility for how your life turned out.
Okay, keeping in mind that I tend not to be all that judgmental in the first place, who is it that you're thinking I need to forgive exactly? And how the hell am I responsible for how my life turned out? I didn't choose to be born into the circumstances I was born into, to be born into this system that has laws that I disagree with, a political system I disagree with, an economic system I disagree with. Okay, it's not up to me that it works the way that it does. I am trapped in a system that does not work the way I want it to. I want it to work in a different way. So how am I responsible for how my life turned out? That makes absolutely no sense, and you fucking know it. You fucking know it.
You learn the behavior you're exhibiting from somewhere. You need to figure out where you learned it from and make changes in your life.
Ironically, that's what we've been talking about throughout this entire video, and that's pretty much my activism in a nutshell, right? Talking about where we get our behaviors from, and let's change, right? And, I've, of course, been, trying to make some changes. You telling me to make changes is really not all that productive. What did you have in mind, more specifically?
I know this because I used to behave the same way, and now I'm making changes in my life to become a better person.
What do you mean by a better person? Like morally better? What are you talking about? Like, as opposed to being a shitty person or a person that sucks? Because I don't believe in that kind of thing. I don't believe that there's such a thing as, oh, this person's better than this one, right? I mean, certainly we can have different skill levels. A person might be better skilled in a certain area than another person. There's going to be plenty of people who are better at math than I am. I'm going to be better with English than all sorts of other people, okay? But being a person is itself not a skill, right? Being a human being, right? A Homo sapien is a species. It's not a skill. So there's not any, I'm just a better person, okay? That's not real.
A lot of people that know me have made comments that they've noticed the change, and it's really helped me with my self-esteem.
Well, that's great that people helped you with your self-esteem. Self-esteem, of course, is kind of a subject to interpretation concept. It's going to be defined differently in different dictionaries. So my self-esteem is either, low to moderate or incredibly high, depending on what definition we're going off of and what the contextual usage is. Because, of course, my self-esteem is going to be different in different contexts. And that's the big C word I really want you to account for by the end of this video. Context. When I'm on YouTube arguing with people, correcting misinformation, doing activism, that is a completely different context than when I'm out shopping or trying to pick up chicks or, out with family or at work. Those are different contexts. I'm going to be behaving differently in those different contexts. All that said, is there actually a good reason for people to be turned off by the activism I do here on YouTube?
You care about the planet? That's fucking stupid.
No, of course not. Now, this isn't enough to stop people from being turned off. Sometimes they're going to hear something they disagree with, and they'll judge me on a personal level. But they don't actually have valid arguments that they can raise against the points that I'm making, and so they stoop to personal attacks and character assassination, like telling me that I come off as negative or arrogant or something like that. But what you have to realize is that when you resort to these personal attacks, calling me negative or arrogant or whatever, this doesn't actually invalidate any of my points. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with other people. If you're interested in watching my future videos, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you all in the next one. So have a good one, guys, and peace.